I see, this is the thing, is like everything now has the Gemini. Bless you, bless you. So she's just gonna be in the background of this video, and we're just gonna have to live with that. Hello, sinners, and hail Sappho. It's your hostess with the mostest, Narcissa Deville, and I'm living for this look. If you're new to this channel, hi, hello, welcome. We've been expecting you. I would not say this video is going to represent like typical content, so if you are new, sorry about that. I say a lot in my videos that like this isn't like other videos because I don't know at this point. It's almost like a trope. But like this video really is not typical of what my channel is like because I really went off the rails. But so I'm trying to make this larger video, right? And if you know nothing about making YouTube videos, please know shit takes a long time. Like, I wrote a 13,000 word script like an idiot, not ever remembering that it takes a long time to film 13,000 words, actually. And I've had to refilm several things multiple times because why wouldn't I? Oh, God, it's such a fun time. I always forget. Oh, Jesus, why is this not stay up? Okay, this is the other thing. I bought this at, like, I don't even know where the hell I bought this from, but it already does not stand up on its own, my little mirror, so that's cool. Did I get glitter on this? Okay, no, thank goodness. Okay, now what the hell was I doing? Oh, I have like a whole... Oh my goodness, Sneezy. What is this? Was this what I was going to talk about? Okay, so here's the thing, right? So first of all, I was going to make this video last week because we were waiting for the RadioDust print, which came out, and I guess when you say that something's going to be a print, let me just say this, okay? Let me right off the bat, okay? I am not grateful. I am very grateful that they are including other ships besides what apparently is going to be the main ship. I have heard rumors on the grapevine. Apparently, someone in one of my last videos, please excuse the noise, somebody has decided she wants to be everywhere. She wants to be everything everywhere all at once. So supposedly, right, someone told me in a video was that, or on a comment on one of my videos, was that, oh, Viv and Amazon confirmed that Husk and Angel was going to be a thing 6 months ago. Now, I do a little bit want to call bullshit on this idea because I just think it's interesting that they could confirm something, but like, I never heard about it. I know plenty of people who watch the show, like friends of mine who don't ship any of the ships. And my friend who got me into Hell of a Boss, who doesn't really care for any of the ships, has never mentioned this and said it was a rumor. So like, I do have my doubts, right, that this was confirmed 6 months ago and everyone's just known that it was going to be a thing. Like, that seems like a stretch. I have heard that season 2 is going to focus more on, you know, certain friendships or whatever, which, like, whatever. And I've already said, for me, if that's the case, then I probably just won't be watching season 2. Or if I do, I'm just going to fast forward through all that shit, just like I did through a lot of the musical numbers, because with all due respect, again, I am not really a super big musical fan. I know that's shocking to like a show like this and not be a musical fan. Like, it kind of seems like, why the hell would you even watch a show like this if that's the case? And I do want to say I do like some musicals. I know I like paint myself as this big musical hater, but like I do actually like musicals. Like I've said before, I like Chicago, I like Hairspray, I like a lot of the songs from Wicked, not all of them, but a lot of them. So like I do have musicals that I enjoy. I just, you know, I don't know. I still don't. I've talked about it in so many videos at this point. It's kind of like a trope, me trying to explain like my feelings about musicals. But I would say it's like, I don't tend to like musical songs that sound like musical songs. So make of that what you will. I don't even know what I want to do if I want to do blue. I think I'm going to just do purple. I haven't done a good purple look in a minute. So let's just do purple. So I'm just sitting here like, you know, if that is true, right? If it is true that that is going to be where the show is going, that they are going to focus more on the relationship of Husk and Angel, then like, I will skip that. I will skip those scenes. I will skip that, reality, as it were. Because, and what's funny is I saw this comment, I can't even remember where I saw it at this point, but it was basically talking about, like, someone was talking about how they view canon as, like, just another version of, like, a version of reality that you can just kind of take or leave at your will. And honestly, I kind of love that idea. I kind of love looking at, like, because I think we have this thing, right, where we look at canon as, like, this unimpeachable thing, like, this is what the truth is of the story. And, even if you have fan fiction, it can never replace what is actually the truth and, like, whatever. And it's like, but, I mean, the whole fun of fandom is that it doesn't have to be. And I was having a conversation, too, like, with a friend of mine who was writing a fan fiction, and they were talking, I think it was on Twitter, and they were like, oh, I'm kind of worried that this story is going to be out of character or whatever. And I'm like, my person, I don't want to say my dude, like, here's the thing. It's all out of character. It's fanfic. That's the whole point. So, like, I feel like the whole out of character thing, I don't see that as much anymore. Like, it used to be where people are like, oh, this is going to be OOC, or people would complain about things being too out of character. But I don't see that as much being a concern. And I feel like part of the reason is a lot of people understand now that it's like, yeah, it's all out of character. It's called fanfic. That's the whole fucking point. And, like, you do AUs and shit. Like it doesn't have to be in character anymore. You can, I mean, it's nice to be close. It's nice to, like, have, the same energy and vibes as these characters, obviously. But, like, if you want to get technical about it, it's all going to be out of character because these, it's fanfic. That's the point. So, like, don't worry about it that much, is my opinion about it, right? So I find these conversations so interesting. And I think I got on a tangent. I was talking about, for a second, the print, right? Because we finally got the RadioDust print that we were promised. And it was funny because we were all, like, freaking out, waiting for it. And we were like, where is it? Where is it? Everybody, who's at the con, take a picture. It was just so funny. And it's nice because it's like this moment in time, right? Where we're all waiting for this same thing that we all want to see together. Like, we're all very excited. And then it comes out, and, like, do not get me wrong. I am so thrilled that, the RadioDust fandom was included. I am so thrilled that we get to have this, right? But at the same time, I do feel like when you say print, I really had the impression that it was going to be maybe like an original art piece or something like that. And I guess that was stupid on my part. Like, what would make me think that they were going to make an original art piece? I don't know what I was thinking there, but for some reason I did. And so it's just like a composite photo of, of like scenes from the show, right? Which is fine. It's still great. It's still cool. And I do appreciate that we have it. But I'm just kind of wondering, like, where in my head did I think they were going to make, like, an original print or something like that? And you know what? I do have to say, like, we really do have to thank Blake and Amir for this existing at all. Like, they were, as far as I have heard, they were the ones who spearheaded the idea of, like, doing different ship prints. So I know there's the Vox and Alistair one. I think there's going to be one for Lucifer and Alistair, and of course Angel and Alistair. That was like, I think the Vox and Alistair and the Angel and Alistair one both came at the same time. I actually saw the Vox and Alistair print first, but I mean, it's nice. I really do appreciate it. So, like, don't get me wrong, but I do think it's funny that I, like, somewhere got it in my head that I was like, oh, this is going to be like an original print. That's so exciting and so cool. Like, girl, what were you thinking? I don't know why I thought that was going to be a thing. Like, but back to my previous tangent. I'm, like, all over the place already. It's one of those mornings. Back to my original tangent is, like, I find it very interesting that, like, I don't know if it's, like, wishful thinking on certain people's part, that, like, they read something that kind of sort of suggests that maybe this is what's happening, and they've taken this as, like, oh yeah, this is common knowledge. Amazon confirmed it. Like, I'm sorry, since when does fucking Amazon confirm ships? That's never been a thing. Like, I don't even think they confirmed that fucking Crowley and Aziraphale are canon and like gonna be a relationship thing. Like that is not at all how Amazon operates. They don't confirm ships like that. So I think that's really fucking strange that that's something that people are like, oh, they confirmed it. I'm like, okay, so I mean, I've seen, like, if you want to get technical, I've seen Viv as recently as like a couple days ago. I saw that she liked an art piece that was RadioDust themed. So like, I guess that's a confirmation. Like, if you really want to get technical with this stuff and you really want to like go in deep, I think you can kind of say anything is a confirmation of anything. Like, that's not how this works. So like, I don't know, man. I find it so interesting. And I get it. You know, ships are such a very personal thing. Everyone wants to believe that their particular ship is canon. Everyone wants their ship to be canon, which you know, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. I feel like the thing about making a ship canon a lot of times is like, it doesn't always go the way you think it does. Like, yeah, technically, I guess DCTL is canon, but like, God, at what cost? Like, the way they did that is like, is this really what we wanted? Is this really what we've been waiting for like 20 some odd seasons? Anybody who has ever been a fan of Dean and Castiel, like, this is what you wanted, was an I love you confession followed by just going straight to super hell. Like, what the fuck? And by the way, I've seen the clip. I've never actually watched the episode, but I saw the clip finally, and like, I love someone saying I love you and just the response is, don't do this. Like, what the fuck does that mean? How is that your response to I love you? Like, girl, just don't say anything. Like, that show was so fucking wild right to the end. Right to the end, that shit was wild. And it's just, I don't miss that fandom, but boy, was it a wild ride while it lasted. Like, what the fuck? You are so silly. What are you doing? So like, I don't know. I find it so funny, right? It's like, I don't know. And that's the thing too, is like, would I really want RadioDust to be canon at this rate? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I would want it to be canon, considering how, you know, other shows making things canon have gone. Like, I'm not saying that, you know, I think Hazbin Hotel would have the same, you know, methodology as something like Supernatural, but I'm not saying that I don't think that. So like, I don't know if I trust them to, like, if that was to be made canon, I don't know how that would go. So, you know, I definitely will skip around. I mean, it's funny to say and very dramatic, right? To say, oh, I'm just never going to watch the show again. Like, that's it. I will not watch this. And don't get me wrong, I am petty enough. I have definitely stopped watching shows if I don't like, you know, where things are going with a ship. I've stopped watching movies because of that. As I talked about last week, Fandom Redacted, I fell out of that fandom for a very long time because of, you know, or I should say I fell out of canon. I think I was still reading fanfic, but I fell out of the canon because of my love for, you know, the ship I was in, and I was not interested in engaging with the actual source material because of that. So I am not at all someone who's immune to just deciding like, yeah, I'm not going to interact with the source material anymore. I'm just going to be a part of the fandom, and that's going to be that. And like, I don't know, after everything that's going on with Neil Gaiman right now too, I'm kind of like, do we watch season 3 or do we just not interact with that source material and just stay a part of the fandom? And I'm sure like a lot of people probably don't even want to interact with the fandom whatsoever now. So it's that's such a hard like thing to figure out and to navigate. And I can't tell anyone what the correct, you know, response for that is, because I definitely stayed in Fandom Redacted way too long after everything went down with the TERF who shall not be named. But like, the thing is, my reasoning is like, fandom is such a different experience from the actual author. And maybe, I don't know, now that we know what we maybe kind of know, maybe that's why he was always trying to divorce himself so much from fandom, so that like people could have that separation from him versus the actual work. And that I kind of appreciate in hindsight. But like at the same time, I feel like with certain fandoms you can kind of, you know, divorce the art from the artist a little bit better. I don't know. I don't know if there's ever like a correct thing to know to do, right? And that's the thing, is like trying to be an ethical, I don't want to say consumer because that like is dehumanizing, but like trying to be an ethical fandom enjoyer, fandom appreciator, despite the actions of, you know, a few people. It's tricky. It's really fucking tricky. And, you know, again, I can't tell you what the correct answer is for you. I can't tell you what the correct answer is for me, because I don't always know. You know, it's the easy answer is just, you know, enjoying what you enjoy and not thinking too much about it. You know, plenty of people enjoy, you know, Star Wars and Marvel and every Disney thing, despite everything Disney has ever done. And, you know, we all have Android phones or iPhones, despite, you know, Google and Apple and everything they have ever done. And so it's like, you know, I know people like to say like, oh, there's no such thing as ethical consumption under capitalism. And, you know, I mean, there is unfortunately no getting around that, right? Like there is, unless you live off the grid and just don't go anywhere, there's really no getting around like the shittier aspects. But I also think being knowledgeable about what you're consuming and like what people are doing, and, you know, as much as you can. And let's be honest, you know, of those many things that Disney has done, you know, supporting Israel right now, and the fact that one of their Marvel characters has like a deeply anti-Palestinian like backstory, like that's a whole fucking thing right now. And like, why would you trot this character out after not having them be there for like a long ass time? I don't know. It's just, it's like, you know, oh God, I just sprayed that right in my mouth. It's like, you know, whether or not you decide you want to continue to interact with something, you have to at least be knowledgeable of what's going on. You know what I mean? You have to at least be knowledgeable about, as much as you can, about acknowledging like what's happening behind the scenes, what, you know, what people are talking about. And so it's so tricky, right? And I have to say, I have definitely fallen out of things that I previously enjoyed because someone was, you know, being an asshole. Even though they kicked Jeffrey Tambor out, I couldn't really watch Transparent after everything came out about that. I still can't watch Arrested Development because of how much he was a part of that. You know, so it's like, you think about all these things, right, where it's certainly very easy to fall out of these spaces because of something that a creative did that you know, that's like really gross. Like I said, you know, that everything that went on with Jeffrey Tambor and, you know, Transparent, I'm not going to get into it. You can Google it if you really want to know. But, you know, certainly everything going on. And I'm not saying that I have not read, you know, I've gotten the gist of everything with Neil Gaiman, but I've not read anything because it's not something I really want to delve into personally. But I know enough to know, like, something happened there that's not great, and you know, it does make me wary of whether or not I should support season 3. You know, I do think fandom is its own thing, and so I am kind of tempted to say, like, it was not wholly his enterprise that created these characters. And again, I will say this, when I reviewed the book, there are definitely things in the book from the 1990s that do not age well. There are definitely things in the book that I think, you know, I'm kind of surprised don't come up more, that people are like, I don't know if we should be supporting this, guys. And maybe they do, and maybe I just don't see that. But like in general, I do feel like these are things that are pretty questionable. And yeah, the authors have since apologized, and it's like, you know, a thing where everybody recognizes it was not a good look. But, you know, it's kind of like, I don't know, you know what I mean? So like, again, I do feel like the fandom space is somewhat different, but I don't know. It's so, like I said, it's just, it has to be individualized. It has to be what you're comfortable with. It has to be what you believe is the right thing to do. Life is difficult for all of us. And that's the other thing too, is like, it's so tricky because so often you feel like, I don't want to complain about my own situation because I know there's so many people who have it so much worse. And I feel like if I'm bitching about like anything going on in my life, you know, the fact that I've been trying to look for a job for the past 3 months and there's so many fucking job scams, man. Like, can we talk about that for a second? Like, you would not believe how many job scams there are. And it's just like, what is this? What is, like, why is this the new thing that we're like scamming people who are just, we're all trying to get work and you're like scamming people? What the fuck? It's just, it's just unbelievable. The actual reality of getting a job and having to work for a company and potentially, you know, everything's fucking either sales or insurance sales or customer service. And it's like, I cannot do customer service again. I cannot do another fucking tour of duty of customer service land. Like, no, this is exhausting to me. But there's so few other jobs. Like, everything wants you to have like 10 years of experience. You know, a bachelor's degree is no longer anything. You know, I'm like, what, am I gonna have a fucking PhD next? Like, to do, you know, not even like complicated. I'm not trying to be an astrophysicist here. Like, I do have a science degree for whatever that's fucking worth, but like, I'm just trying to, you know, have a simple job. You know, I'd love to do like fucking data entry. But, you know, nowadays, it's so funny because you hear all these stories, right, of people in like the 80s and 90s where like they just needed help and, you know, we'll train you. It doesn't matter if you have no experience. We'll train you. You know, you're here, you're a body. And now it's like, nobody wants to train you anymore on something new. Like, you have to have 10 years experience for an entry-level job because they are not going to train you. And it's like, it becomes a thing where, you know, once you get into a field, you're pretty much stuck there because that's what you already know how to do. And so nobody has to train you on it. Nobody has to train you how to do customer service shit except for like what the company specifically wants. Because if you're already in the customer service field for any length of time, you already know how to do the goddamn job. And it's not like it takes all that much work, but like, they don't need to take the time to train you on something you don't know how to do at all. It's just like, okay, well, you already have the experience doing this, so we don't really have to train you more than like a week or two about what our expectations are and how our systems work, because everything has to be different. But like, you know, and so you end up in this thing where you get stuck in shit. You get stuck in like this rut of like, well, I have to keep this job because, or I have to keep doing this type of thing because no one else will even look at you if your resume doesn't match what they're doing. Like, if you don't have the experience that they believe you should have, they're not going to fucking train you anymore. And so that's why these conversations about like what it was like to get a job for people who are like baby boomers versus what it was like to get a job as like a millennial, where it's like, nobody wants to fucking train you anymore. Nobody wants to have to take the time to teach you something you don't know how to do. If you don't know how to do it, sucks to be you. Like, you either have to learn it on your own and or get a degree or, you know, fucking God knows what, but you better get that experience. How you're going to get that experience fucking beats me, because for an entry-level job that used to exist where they would teach you and you'd get that experience, now you have to have like 5 years of experience. And it's like, okay, well, where the fuck do I get that experience? Am I just supposed to have a fucking internship that doesn't pay me for 5 years? Like, I cannot fathom this. I cannot fathom why we are like this, right? And I think it's so, I was just watching this video where someone was like, you know, oh, well, at least we're not like other countries where they tell you from birth what you're going to be and that's all you can be. And it's like, I mean, yeah, we don't tell people, but you certainly make it impossible for anyone to get a job that's not in that same industry. And what I find so funny is like people always act like, oh, if you're a food service worker, that's only for teenagers. But like, we've created a situation where if you work food service in your teenage years, you are almost only guaranteed to continue getting food service jobs for the rest of eternity because that's what you know how to fucking do. This idea that somehow, you know, food service is something that only is for teenagers and, you know, once you grow up and get a real job. But like, how the fuck do you get that real job if everything expects you to have experience of like 20, 30 years for a fucking entry level? Like, do we get where this is a problem? And like, I know this is like such an interesting tangent to be going on right now, especially when like, you know, that wasn't initially the point of this video, but fuck it, you know, I've got time to fill, and frankly, I have a lot of frustrations to get off my chest, so like, here we fucking go, you know? It's just like, it's so exhausting. It is so exhausting. And don't get me wrong, like, you know, I'm very fortunate to be able to do what I do, with YouTube. But that's not something that's paying the bills right now. I can't pay the bills with, you know, I'm gonna get $100 in like 5 more videos or something like that. Like, you know, and again, that's not to be ungrateful. I'm so grateful that I am almost to the threshold of getting my first check from YouTube. That's very exciting to me. But at the same time, like, you know, it's a lot of fucking work that I put into this. It's a lot of fucking work that I put into writing. It's a lot of fucking work that I put into everything that I do. And, you know, capitalism fucking sucks, man. I wish there was a better alternative. I know there's a better alternative. I wish people were willing to go for that better alternative. And I feel like we've kind of reached the point where it's just so exhausting to exist anymore that I feel like we're at a turning point where people are just going to have to, like, we're just going to have to do something because it's fucking exhausting. It's just fucking exhausting. Anyway, I'm gonna get off this tangent because I can talk about this pretty much forever. I could probably make an entire video that's just me like bitching about trying to find a job and how fucking annoying it is. I will say I look fucking cute. Sorry, I sidetracked. So yeah, I'm just fucking exhausted, man. I really truly am. Working is fucking, or like trying to find a job is exhausting. And I'm always working on something. Like, this is the thing that people don't realize, right? Like, YouTube is a job that you don't get paid at until you reach a certain threshold. So you pretty much don't get paid for like hundreds of videos unless you're really, really famous. And to that end, like, people think that it's just like, oh, you sit down, film a video, and that's it. And it's like, no, I am constantly thinking about videos. I'm constantly thinking about outfits. I'm constantly thinking about how I can change something or upgrade something or do something better. Like, YouTube is such this thing where it's constantly me working on perfecting these things. You know what I mean? I don't think people appreciate that. I don't think people appreciate, like, how much constant effort goes into this. And especially if something's like a big video essay, like what I'm working on, you know, kind of concurrent to all of this, it's like, you know, that's writing a script, that's, you know, changing my outfits, that's deciding what the fuck I'm gonna do, you know, for this thing or this thing or this. Like, there's always something that you're doing. And it's like, I don't know, it gets, and I've said this before, I kind of alluded to this last week, it's like, it gets very exhausting when it doesn't feel like people are necessarily appreciating your efforts. And I know that they do. I know that there are people out there who really appreciate my efforts. I know that there are people who really appreciate, you know, what it is I do and the content I make. So, like, do not get me wrong. I do understand that. But I just feel like it's so exhausting to, you know, you put in all this work for all of these things that you want to do, you know. I blogged for years and I started blogging again because it was fun, and now that's gotten exhausting already. You know, I make these YouTube videos, I try and write, I feel like I'm still, you know, kind of just exhausted from all the writing I did the previous year and all of July. Like, I've written barely anything of a novel. I've only written scripts at this point. I've written like 30,000 words worth of scripts for different videos, and some of them I'm not even going to be able to, like, I'm not going to have time to film those. So, like, this video went totally off the rails from where I expected. I really thought this was going to be like a mostly fandom rant where I'm like talking about how I don't know if I'm going to like keep up with the show after everything, or that I think I'm going to probably only watch, like, skip around, you know, so I can ignore certain scenes. But now I'm just kind of like, I'm just all over the place because I'm just so exhausted. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, leave a comment down below, like, subscribe to this channel. This is not, I would say, my typical video, so if you've just kind of stumbled upon me, sorry. But this is not the typical content for me whatsoever. But so yeah, that's this video. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe. You can also subscribe to me on Patreon, patreon.com/NarcissaDeville. I am going to try to make more consistent content on there. Obviously, I'm like releasing some of my older videos that I've been like privating and stuff like that over the years. So there is videos to watch over there, certainly. And until next time, stay devilish and see you next Tuesday.